Hello, good people, and welcome to Hillbilly Cat History, where today we hear the story of Elvis's priceless last ring. It's got Ricky Stanley, it's got Lowell Hayes, there's gonna be more Priscilla. Hi Debbie, hi Mike, hi Monica, thank you so much for coming. We're going to get started with a song, and this is Pounding at the Gates.
I hear him loading up the stories, hear him dialing up the dates, hear his brothers turning witnesses to the pain he couldn't shake. Red says everything he got from him, but I can hear the hurt behind it like a crack of blame. Dave's boiling blood is pounding on the gates of Graceland, shouting, face me like a man, but never knowing he was hurt. He left town in the night, not to hide, just to breathe, but they took it as a knife, as a wound they couldn't leave. They say they saved his life, they say they stood their ground, but he was burning from the inside and they never heard the sound. Face me like a man. He gave love and friendship every chance, but it slipped right through the fingers. Shed like swallowed by the cracks of time. Sabotage his name. No, they're sabotaging their own pain. They loved him, yeah, he knows it, but they love the legend more than that. Brad's calling every friend Elvis ever had, asking dates, asking stories, turning memories into scrapbook for a book full of words as he wrote it for the money. Then he says he wrote it out of love, but love don't come with lawyers and a push from up above. Dave bursts in a gun, bulb on his hip, says he ain't here to hurt nobody, just wants to look him in the eye and hear the words again. But the wolves were in the fold, the wolves they never saw. They saw the jumpsuits in the spotlight, not the thread behind the wall. Say they knew his shape, they say they knew his fall, but they only saw the surface while he was screaming through it all. Face me like a man. He gave love and friendship every chance, but it slipped right through the fingers. Shed like swallowed by the cracks of time. Sabotage his name. No, they're sabotaging their own pain. They loved him, yeah, he knows it, but they love the legend more than that. He called Red when he knew the book was coming. His voice was shaking like a sinner in the pew. He wasn't angry, his heart was broken. He was scared of losing those with who he shared the truth. And when the radio said his name that August morning, they pulled their cars to the side of the road. They cried, they froze, they remembered the man they couldn't reach anymore. Face me like a man. He was dying in slow motion, trying to hold the world together with a heart that lost devotion. Sabotage my name. No, this was always a two-way flame. You loved him, yeah, you know it, but you couldn't see the man in pain. He never meant to lose you. You were never meant to run. He didn't want to face the ending of the story you left undone.
Thank you for gathering here at Hillbilly Cat History, where we remember together and listen for the echoes. Today we got those echoes coming from Lowell Hayes, and of course we got some more Priscilla. But we're gonna start with what's on the bookshelf. We got a non-Elvis book. We got an Elvis book. Hi, Francis. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. We're going to start with the non-Elvis book. Let me get this camera adjusted. This is Gonzo, The Life of Hunter S. Thompson. So also on the bookshelf is a book by Hunter S. Thompson I haven't gotten to, but this is a biography of Hunter. I think it's kind of like an autobiography because it says an oral biography by Jan S. Werner and Corey Seymour. So I think Hunter told them about his life and then they wrote it. And Hunter was a crazy guy. His life is already documented in his books, basically, but this kind of wraps it all together and has an introduction by Johnny Depp, who played Hunter in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I have not read this book. This is yet another book that sits on the bookshelf, waiting for me to read the Hunter S. Thompson book first, and then I can finally get to this one. And Patty says that's a thick book. Yes, it is. Hunter, he never was at a lack of words. So if he told the story, it went on for a long, long time. I'm sure they cut it down. Now, here is today's Elvis book, trying to get to you the story of Elvis Presley. And it's got these pictures of these girls with Elvis on the front. By Valerie Harms. Trying to get to you the story of Elvis Presley. This is one of those former library books that I've picked up in a sale somewhere. This is not really a book about Elvis Presley. I mean, they talk about Elvis a lot in it. There you can see this used to be. It's got that slot where you put the library card. It's even got a stain that nobody knows what it is and you don't want to know what it is. Came free with the book. But this is a book that's about the fan, Valerie Harms. So it's kind of like Kay Wheeler's books. Elvis is a little bit of a guest star. They're very focused on Elvis, but the book's really about fans and what fans did. So if you like a fan book, and it was contemporary. Let me see the date this was published. I believe this was published before Elvis passed away. This is 1979. So this is actually a couple of years after. But this is like the way the fans remember Elvis, the fans who wouldn't have had special access. She did meet Elvis once, I believe, if I'm remembering this book correctly. Maybe a few times at different concerts and stuff in his early days. But it's just a fan's memories of the time. It's pretty good. If you could get it under $10, I would definitely pick it up. And Mitchell's asking if I've seen the Epic movie yet. I have not. I do not live near any theaters, and I just haven't been able to travel out to see it. And Francis is mentioning Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. That's right. Happy St. Patty's Day. And Mitchell says that instead of a book, he decided on a DVD. And that way you could see it and let it read for you. Yeah, a lot of people like that. I have too many DVDs to count, actually. So I know all about preferring DVDs over books. But I got a lot of books, too. Hi, Luann. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. Happy coffee. And Frances says she's having a tooth extraction tomorrow and she's nervous about it. I would be too. But usually they Novocaine you up pretty good and you don't even notice. So let's move on over now into the reason we're here. The story about Elvis's last ring. We'll catch up to where we've already been. We're trying to get through one magazine. We've been on it for a little while now. Had a long article about Priscilla. And we got to learn that she had a boyfriend in 1976 who was a hairdresser. And then she had a boyfriend in 1978 who was a model and an actor. That's Mike Edwards. And she was wearing a bikini in January of 1978, but we haven't looked at that magazine yet. We've just seen this cover. And then here she is with Michael Edwards again. Now, it's funny, he doesn't really look like this other guy. Just flipping back there. I guess maybe. Mitchell says that he's got another funeral to go to. I'm sorry to hear that, Mitchell. And Monica is asking, who is St. Patrick? He's the guy who drove all the snakes out of Ireland, I believe. That's kind of why it's an Irish holiday. I'm not really that up on it myself, but it has 4-leaf clovers and leprechauns attached and gold at the end of a rainbow, I think. And Patty says that she thinks Priscilla had a lot of boyfriends we don't know about. Jeff's asking, in 1973 during the Aloha from Hawaii concert, why didn't Elvis move around hardly at all? I think it's for the cameras so they could focus correctly, but I don't know that he didn't move around at all. I think those are maybe the shots they selected. There are other cuts of that you can watch on YouTube, plus cuts of the day before, that he had given a rehearsal concert. So there's a lot of different views of it out there. And Elizabeth says she was working, so she's late. We're glad to have you here now, Elizabeth. And Luann says it's still summer in Sydney. So I guess in Sydney they're getting ready to move into winter, and that seems odd because we're getting ready to move into spring and summer. So that's another international difference. And Frances says she's worried about that dry socket that might come with the tooth extraction. I know exactly what you're talking about there. Make sure you keep that thing packed. And Mitchell says that this was actually another relative of Elvis that he's going to the funeral for within his family. Remember you telling me that you were related to the family. So I hope that it's always sad to hear that anyone's passed. I just hope that this time goes well. And Jeff's saying that he was slim and good looking in the Aloha broadcast and never understood why he didn't move around like normal. Yeah, I mean, they would have had a set section for him and he knew he was being filmed and they had blocked things off the day before. So that might be part of it. I think it's maybe for the focusing. Frances asking about the exact relationship to Elvis, and I'm sure she's asking about both Mitchell, yours, and the person who's passed away. And Mitchell saying cousin. I think it's on the Smith side, is what you had said, if I'm remembering correctly. But we're looking at this picture of the National Enquirer. It's got Elvis on the cover. It's basically 1 year after he passed away. This is August of 1978. And down in the corner, it says you can win his last ring. And we've moved through these stories. We can see Mike Stone with Priscilla there at the very top. And now we're moving into the last ring. And there's an article that's right under the article we finished. And it says, win Presley's priceless last ring. So not only could you win the last ring, it would be invaluable. They can't even put a price on this thing. Now, I feel like they could put a price on it, but They've chosen to describe it as priceless. And Mitchell's saying that the Elvis relative who's passed away is Stephen, that he was only 47 years old and he had a massive heart attack. That is very sad to hear. And Mitchell's mentioning that we just never know. And that is true. We do never know. And so I'm assuming Stephen was also a cousin of Elvis Presley. And Francis says that Elvis did look amazing at the Aloha concert. And so in this story from the National Enquirer, it says you could be the owner of Elvis Presley's last ring, a ring that the king himself helped design, and which he wore on his final concert tour. This fabulous, valuable memento. Now, isn't that a weird way to describe the ring? A fabulous, valuable memento. It has been obtained by the Enquirer. What do you think that means? That it's been obtained by the Enquirer? Does that mean that they bought it? And who brought it to them? Where did this come from? What is the provenance? And it says, and now we're giving it away to a lucky Enquirer reader. Now, don't you wish that you'd been reading the Enquirer in August of 1978 because you've missed out on this opportunity to win this priceless ring? The article goes on and it says the king's ring has been independently appraised at a staggering $13,425.86. You know, that's a very specific price for a priceless ring. $13,425.86. And that's just for the diamonds, sapphires, and gold it contains. That's scrap value. That doesn't even consider the work or the fact that it's already put together as a piece of art. And Elizabeth's asking, how did the Enquirer get it? I don't know. Maybe the story will tell us, but I'm thinking it won't. And Francis says this does sound suspicious. And Mike says that this would be something to win. Might have even made you buy that copy of the National Enquirer, huh? Add to that the sentimental value plus its worth as a collector's item, and Elvis fans will agree that the last ring is priceless. Well, again, I don't know that we'll agree it's priceless. It's pricey. I would definitely agree that it is pricey. Priceless, I sure would have liked to have had it. Yes, it would have been priceless to an Elvis fan. Absolutely. And then it says, and it could soon belong to you, because all Enquirer readers have an equal chance to win this fantastic keepsake in our exciting new contest. Ricky Stanley, stepbrother of Elvis, and that's the way they've described him, Elvis's stepbrother, says for somebody to actually have a piece of jewelry that the king wore, that person would be the luckiest individual there is. Now, Ricky said a lot of things that I think a lot of people would not agree with, but would you agree with Ricky on this one? That to win any piece of jewelry or to own any piece of jewelry that the king wore would make you the luckiest individual on earth. And Mike says he couldn't afford the tax on the ring. I'm probably with you there, Mike. Have to scrap it immediately. And Pamela says she wonders who did win it. Yeah, there's this article's not going to tell us that, so that would be something to know where this ring is. I do not know. If you know where the ring is, let us know. You can see it on screen at the top right of this page. You can also see it in the picture of Elvis, which is perhaps one of the worst pictures of Elvis I've ever seen, yet he is wearing this ring. But whatever in-between movement they've caught him in here, it's not a flattering one. You can see why Elvis sometimes did not appreciate having his picture taken. You might also note that it looks like he's got a Band-Aid on his finger above the ring. A lot of people would try to pull the rings off of his fingers, and the Band-Aids would prevent that. And I believe Michael Jackson picked that up. Only Jackson liked to do it with the white bandages to make him stand out more. I'm not sure that Elvis was bringing attention to it, but it seems to come out in this picture. And Luann's saying that Elvis does seem to be more serious on the Aloha stage than in other performances. And that he got a hair trim on that concert. That's interesting. It's interesting that you all noticed how he performs there as opposed to other places. I never really noticed that myself. And Frances says she assumes Graceland would have that ring. Oh, I wouldn't think so. It's gone to somebody. It's been around in other auction circuits, maybe. I haven't identified it in any other circuits yet, but I doubt it made it back to Graceland. And the thing is, the stuff that's not at Graceland, they kind of don't want. Like, they're not really big into collecting the stuff back. There's a few items that get publicized, they pick up and bring back, but most of them, I think they just don't care. And Pamela's asking if the Inquirer still exists. I believe it does. A lot of that stuff's moved to like internet though, so I'm not really sure, but I think there's still tabloids at the grocery store stands. Luea wants to know if I'm going to talk about why Elvis didn't move much. Yeah, I don't know why Elvis didn't move much, but it'd be interesting. We could take a couple of different concerts and throw them up against each other and see if we then believe he really doesn't move as much, or if it just seemed that way from the shots that they selected to show. And Elizabeth says 1.5 billion people watching. That's why he's probably so serious. Yeah, that'd be a fun one to do. Like the Aloha, that'd probably take a couple of weeks to go all the way through. Just that one concert, really. And the stuff leading up to it. There's 2 concerts there, truly. And there's all the stories, like the cape that he threw out and all that. And it connects back to like Ed Parker. And so there's dozens and dozens of connections out of that one. And in this article, it says, jewelry was very, very important to Elvis. It was something that he loved and he cherished. The Inquirer reader who wins this ring, which is not only a fine piece of jewelry, but the last ring. Now, this is kind of, why are they calling it the last ring? It says the one Elvis wore on his last concert tour. So this would have been one of the final pieces of jewelry that Elvis wore. And I believe they're saying that this picture we're looking at on screen right now is from that last concert tour, which would have included, I think it's Rapid City, North Dakota. That's the one that's on the CBS television special. And then Market Square Arena in Indianapolis, Indiana was the very last one. There's some other ones on that tour, but they're indicating that's where this picture came from. And Monica says that Elvis was really serious in the Aloha concert, and she always thought it was because of the satellite and so many watching. Yeah, and I think it has something to do with the rehearsal because he didn't ever rehearse anything else. There weren't any other. He maybe rehearsed for the first comeback to the stage in '69 because they had a lot of getting together. They had a lot of um, rehearsal of the songs. I think they did a run through performance, but he wasn't big on that. He didn't do run through performances. His performances basically were his run throughs, and then he was refining them all the time. But for Aloha, they went and they did a bunch of. They had to do the rehearsal for all the technical aspects, the people who were going to film, and that's one of the reasons I think he must have been confined in his movements. Is they must have said during rehearsal, "Hey, we can't pick you up. You're moving around too fast." And Francis says that the Inquirer does still exist, but has declining sales and multiple lawsuits. That sounds like its entire career. Like, that's the whole history of the National Enquirer. They tried to sell it, but it's still owned by A360 Media. That's funny. All these old corporations, they've outlasted the people who started them. The people who are making money in the beginning from them. This article says the amazing story behind The Last Ring is dramatic, just as Elvis's own brief life was filled with drama. And then they've interviewed Lowell G. Hayes of Lowell G. Hayes and Son Jewelers in Memphis. That's this guy outside the car and outside of his store that says Lowell Hayes and Sons Jewelers. He was one of Elvis's jeweler friends. He'd been on tour with Elvis along with a briefcase full of jewelry on more than one occasion. Elvis had dug into that briefcase and thrown it out to the crowd on at least one occasion. So Lowell got to be part of some amazing Elvis events. And Mike says that he's got the deluxe Aloha DVD set. There's a lot of great footage. So what do you think, Mike? Was he not moving around much during the concert, since you've got to see the outtakes that went with it? And Lowell says, Elvis showed me his numerology book, which he said that his number was 8, but that 4 corresponded to 8. So he wanted 4 rings in this, 4 stones in this ring. So let me read all that again because I butchered it this first time around. Lowell says, he showed me his numerology book, which said that his number was 8, but that 4 corresponded to 8. So he wanted 4 stones in this ring. And you can see there are 4 stones in the ring. Then there's that weird pattern of 5. I wonder if he says something about that. Lowell says the book also said his stone is a black star sapphire, so he wanted 4 of those. That's what's in this ring. Now, the ring picture is AI colored off of this picture. These are black stone or black, what are this? Just black star sapphires. So I like to think of them as black star suns. Because there was a song about Black Star Suns that was popular in the 90s. Maybe the early 2000s. But Elvis really did love Black Star Suns. And I've got a whole lot of them, evidence of them saved up. And I've been wanting to tell a bunch of Black Star Sun stories. So that's something that'll happen at some point in the near future. And Mike says on the outtakes he's not moving around much either. So yeah, I've got to think that it's technical. I got to think it's something technical. And Francis is asking if Lowell Hayes is still living. Well, he was the last time I was in Memphis, because I did wait in a line and say hi to him. So I did get to meet him for a brief moment. It was kind of interesting. That was 3 years ago. So I'm not sure if anybody has a more immediate update on Lowell. Put it in the comments or the chat and let us know. And Elizabeth says that he might have had some health problems at the Aloha time as well, like he did later on. Now, I think there might be some truth in that too, because there's a famous story by Linda that the day after the Aloha, they were supposed to go do something, and that he was out on the porch and he'd taken a lot of medication and he was loopy. And when the guys came over to get him, they determined he was too loopy to go anywhere. So it's one of these stories that they turn into an abusing drug story. But it makes sense to me that Elvis did not partake in his medication moving up to the concert, because he wanted to be in his full clear head. But at the same time, his pain would have been increasing. And now the concert was over, and he takes the medication to get rid of the pain. And I don't know if you've ever taken high-level painkillers, but it's very easy to slip over into having taken too much, because you're trying to get that pain to stop. And the pain doesn't stop immediately when you take the stuff. It takes a while, and some people become impatient. Now, I'm not saying that Elvis didn't purposely abuse the drug either. I'm just saying there's a lot of interpretive room there. And Mitchell's saying that when he gets a chance, he's going to ask Aaron how many of his dad's rings he has. And I'm thinking maybe that's who you had told us had passed away. That's his son. And Mike talks about there's the rehearsal show on the DVD, right? So you got to see 2 shows. That's really cool. I think you can access those on YouTube. And Elizabeth says he definitely did have a lot of health issues. And that's true. And he definitely did forgo medications going up to this concert performance. Everyone mentions that in their memories. Of course, it's this thing where I'm remembering that. And that's why I'd like to go through that section clearly. And then we'd be able to lay that out. And Tori says that they were going to go on a trip after yeah. And Tori says there's a great story that Lowell says Elvis threw the box of jewelry he had on stage one night to the fans. Right. And then that upset Lowell because he felt like Elvis had spent too much money. And then Elvis told him, hey, I'll just sing an extra hour tomorrow night. And Francis says that Elvis did go on a rigorous diet to get ready for the Aloha concert. Yeah, and that includes everything that was going into his body. And he did look, Mitchell's saying he looked really good in a suit, and that's true. He looked really good during that concert. And Monica agrees that he took that concert very seriously. He did. We'll just read through the rest of the chats here. And Tori's saying, do you think it had to do with the weight he'd lost quickly is why he didn't move much? I'm kind of thinking he might have been in pain. And that's why he needed to do the medication so soon afterwards. Like he was just putting it off, just trying to get through that last one. And of course, he did the rehearsal the day before. And so I'm sure he kind of went all out in the rehearsal as well. I've seen the footage of it, and I mean, you don't know it's a rehearsal. He's singing his heart out up there like he always does. He's got people in the audience that are cheering for him, so that might have exerted him really a lot. So, I mean, I think there's room for all of that to be in there. And if you do lose weight quickly, he might have had less energy than he thought he would. Plus, his schedule's got to be kind of weird because the hours in Hawaii are off. He already sleeps at night. I mean, you just got a whole lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts there. And Mitchell saying it was one of his best concerts. Well, yeah, it's absolutely one of the best concerts. And Mitchell's got to run. Take care, Mitchell. Thank you for coming. And Tori says it said that he had a shot of amphetamine before he went on stage. Yeah, I wouldn't know about amphetamine, but B12, that was kind of common with him. That Dr. Nick and he, and I don't remember at this concert specifically, but there were certain vitamin regimes that he went through like that. And when you hear about them, they don't really sound that different than what people do today, like they normally do today, except that he was having a doctor do it, and it involved a needle at that point in time. And Monica says that he was nervous to imagine the first satellite to so many countries. I'm sure that's true. I'm absolutely sure that's true. This article goes on to say, this is Lowell, and he talks about how that they made this ring. That Elvis wanted the Black Star sapphires. He wanted 4 of them. And he says, I sat there in his bedroom and sketched out this ring. So Lowell got to go up to Elvis's bedroom. He got to sit on his bed, probably. I mean, I don't know where else you would sit in his bedroom. And he drew out the ring. Lowell says, I located the 4 sapphires on it. And then he showed me where he wanted some diamonds on it. Now you can see those diamonds. There's 5 of them. They're right in between the 4 stones. And then one directly in the middle. Lowell says Elvis spent about 15 to 20 minutes sketching the ring. So that ring that we're looking at, Elvis spent 20 minutes helping Lowell sketched the ring to get the design that he wanted. Those of you who are following my spiritual series, we talk a lot about creation and manifestation, and he's manifested this ring in 20 minutes with Lowell. Now, they've only gotten to a sketch, but that does bring it outside of your head and outside of the ideal and imagination zone, and then Lowell took it from there to make the ring. And Debbie's saying she thinks that Lowell is still alive. Yeah, I think he is. I haven't heard anything. This article says that one of Hayes' best jewelers, Dole Andrews, was assigned to make the ring. So there is another craftsman involved. It's not Lowell himself. And Doyle, he says, a lot of sweat and a lot of love went into it because of my affection for Elvis. So if you've never heard of Doyle Andrews, a man who made a gold and black sun sapphire and diamond ring for Elvis Presley, make sure you hit that like button, that you're subscribed, because I don't think you've ever heard this name on any other Elvis channel on YouTube. Dole Andrews, a lot of sweat and a lot of love went into this ring because of my affection for Elvis. So the man who made the ring, he loved Elvis. Upon completion, the ring held 47 full-cut diamonds, in addition to the 4 sapphires. So it's not just the 5 diamonds we can easily count and see. There are 47 full-cut diamonds on here. No wonder Elvis spent 20 minutes making this thing. That's only like a half a minute to place each diamond. It says the gems were set in a glittering 14-karat gold base. Now, some of you might think 14 karat is not as expensive as 24 karat, and that is true, but it's a lot more durable. It's a lot easier to wear a 14 karat ring because it doesn't get banged up as easy, and it doesn't bend out of shape as easy. And Elvis's, these are working rings, even though you wouldn't think a man that wears rings that look like this would be working while he wears them. These are his working rings. And so they take some abuse while he's out there. You can see from that bandage that he's wearing some of the abuse they take. Other people are grabbing him and trying to hang on to him. He's banging him into stuff like that guitar as he's doing his thing. So he's got the 14 karat gold. And Mike says that's a lot of ice at 47 diamonds. That is. And Luann says it's a lot of diamonds too. Now Lowell says, I gave the ring to Elvis shortly before his last concert tour. So this would have been, I think sometime in early July or just before. Am I thinking about that right? Yeah, I think his last concerts were sometime in July. Oh, no, it says right here, June 17th to June 26th. So this would have been sometime just before June 17th. And then Lowell says he smiled, he nodded, he put it on his finger, and then he told me, that is what I wanted. So this ring is what Elvis wanted, had it on his finger in the last tour. But during the tour, which ran from June 17th to June 26, 1977, a rough spot inside the ring began cutting into Presley's finger, and he had to wear a Band-Aid to prevent it. Well, maybe that's why he's got that Band-Aid on. It says Elvis knocked the center diamond loose. So like I said, this is a working ring, and it 14 karat gold, but it couldn't take what Elvis had, the abuse Elvis had for it. It's already in its first part of life. It's only been around a couple of weeks. It's lost the center diamond. Well, it's at least loose. It's got to be repaired. Covered with blood, the ring was returned to Hayes, who repaired it. Lowell says, I planned to give the ring back to Elvis the next time I saw him, but I never saw him again. Lowell said that Elvis passed away just weeks later, before he could return the ring. And since Elvis never got around to paying for it, ownership reverted to Hayes. Lowell said Elvis loved it. Whoever ends up with this ring will have something to treasure forever. So I guess we found out why Graceland doesn't have the ring. Vernon apparently didn't send the check in, or something happened that the payment never got made. And here it is, 1978. Elvis has been gone for a year, and Lowell's decided, you know what? I'm selling this ring. And he's apparently made a deal with the National Enquirer. So that's why the ring is out in the world. What do you think of that? That Elvis did not pay for the ring, which cut his finger up, and he had to return covered with blood. And Frances is asking, she wonders how much Elvis paid Lowell for the ring. Well, apparently nothing. That was one of the greatest financial deals Elvis ever made, apparently. One of the few times he didn't get ripped off, I guess, but Graceland didn't get to keep the ring, so I don't know. But it was defective. It cut up his hand. There's a lot to process out of this story. And Monica's asking if there's other rings in Graceland. Why not this one? I guess because they didn't pony up the money. And Tori's asking who has the Maltese cross Linda gave him. Is it at Graceland? No, it's out there in the world too, I believe. I think it's on an auction site. We'll have to look at that. I think I got a record of that. Although Frances is saying she thinks it's at Graceland. I might be thinking of a different one. And Debbie says that yes, Elvis was in pain. And Monica says, okay, not paid for, then it really wasn't his. I guess not. I mean, he designed it. He wanted it. He probably told his dad to pay for it. I'm sure there was an invoice that he's gone and things didn't get paid for. I'm betting Lowell tried to deliver it a couple of times too, but I don't know. You know, because he would have required payment at the time. And Debbie says that Elvis looks very sick and tired. In this particular picture, well, he doesn't look good. But this is the National Enquirer, so I don't put it beyond them to have done things with the picture. But I do notice that his hand around the ring does not look good. So I wonder if that has to do with the fact that it cut him. Or if that's just some unrelated malady, or if it's just an imperfection in the picture. And then somehow Ricky Stanley got a quote in there. That's kind of weird, right? Now, if you wanted to enter this particular contest, you could. You can see the entry form right there. And it even says they're going to have more Elvis stories and photos on the next few pages. Now, I'm not sure why you needed to advertise that you were going to have more stories within the magazine, because I don't know that helps anybody purchase the magazine, but I guess that's an internal magazine advertisement. And Debbie says that Elvis starts to look like Gladys towards the end of his life. I guess he does kind of look like Gladys a little bit here. And Elizabeth says she doesn't like the National Enquirer at all. Yeah, they're not really a newspaper, but they somehow did manage to get a massive amount of real quotes. I mean, somehow being they paid for them, but... And Frances is saying that necklace is called the Maltese, and Graceland does have it. She looked it up. Thank you, Frances. Now here's some of the next articles we're going to look at. New romance for Priscilla Presley. We can see that picture with Michael Edwards. And then at the bottom it says Elvis's daughter, a lonely prisoner. So something going on with Lisa here. See if I can get to the right article here. Let's look at the Lisa article. Elvis's daughter, a lonely prisoner. Little Lisa Marie Presley has become a prisoner of the Elvis legend, trapped in a lonely world created by her father's fame and wealth. So you see this lonely prisoner title and you're like, oh, I gotta read this article, and then she's a prisoner of Elvis's legend. That's, that's some bait and switch, I think, but let's move on into the article. Apparently, it is about Lisa. And Monica says that Elvis looked good when he was with Ginger. And she thinks Ginger must have thought so too. But she doesn't know how he felt, though. Yeah, I don't know how he felt either. And he was managing his pain in some way. And so I also wonder how often he was completely clear-headed during that time. Because if I'd had that kind of pain, even if you just take aspirin every day or something, it doesn't mess with your mind, but the pain does. Like the constant pain messes with your mind. And Luann says that we all get pains and that sometimes she just wants to go sit somewhere, but Elvis couldn't. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. He had to suffer through. And then there were other times, I think, where he would have been tempted to over-medicate because you only got so much time to get rid of the pain, because you only have so much time to enjoy not having the pain, and you're going to be back into this cycle. But this article says the cute 10-year-old is a bird in a gilded cage, say insiders. So this is one of those insider articles. Probably not much truth here, but let's take a look. Kept under heavy guard because of kidnap fears, Lisa can never have a normal life. Vester Presley, Elvis's uncle. So this is interesting that Vester, a year later, he's still talking to the National Enquirer. We've seen him come up before, so I'm thinking Vester's making a little bit of extra side money with the tabloid circuits. He always was a talkative fellow. And he says, Lisa's a prisoner already. Lisa's got everything she wants, but I suppose the best present she could get would be her freedom. So it sounds like this prison thing came from Uncle Vester. Elizabeth says that she agrees because her daughter has to take a lot of pain medication, and that is so true. And Monica says that one gets used to one's pain, strangely enough. That is true, but at the same time, do you get used to the pain, or do you get used to the way that you now treat the world as you feel the pain, and that becomes your normal? And by what I mean by that is that people that are in pain tend to be a little crabby. They tend to be a little hard to get along with. They tend to be a little cranky. And I know that I am all three of those when I'm feeling pain. And I also know that because of some medical issues I've had, on a scale of 1 to 10, I have a constant 2 of pain going on all the time. And then it'll flare up past that. But I rarely get down to 1 or no pain. And therefore, my normal is to always have this pain. And then I get to wondering, am I a crabby person beyond what I would normally be if I didn't feel it at all? And that I've just gotten into always treating the world in this manner. So, but I do understand what you're saying, that you learn to live with pain and you learn to move on, and you don't notice that you have the pain. And the point I'm making is that sometimes the people around you notice that you have the pain, even if you don't. And I only know that because people have told me that I am in pain. They can see it, even though I can't feel it. And they know it because I'm not treating them very well. And Luann says that because he had to continue as Elvis Presley, the legend, because that's who the fans knew him, he certainly felt the pressure to do that. Did he have to do that? I don't know. He certainly thought he did. And so he did bear that responsibility. Now, Vester goes on about Lisa, and he says Lisa's got a terrible life ahead of her. She'll have to live in her own world like Elvis did, and it's a very lonely world. Now, Vester's actually kind of prophetic there, because that is what happened to Lisa, right? She had to live in a very lonely world where she always had to wonder if the people who were around her wanted to be around her because she was Lisa or because she was Lisa Marie Presley. Vester says that anyone with the money Lisa will have would find it hard to live a normal life and get married. I think Vester told the truth on that one too. I don't think Lisa lived a normal life, and that she found it very hard to get married. Maybe not so hard to get married, but hard to stay married. Because she did get married a few times, but what he's saying is it's hard to get married and be with someone for life, and that's exactly what Lisa experienced. And Jeff says that health and happiness are the biggies in life. And Luann says that, like her, I'm cranky. That's funny. Yes. And Varian says that she guesses Elvis was also thinking about all the people who worked for him all the time. Yeah, there was a lot of responsibility on his shoulders that others just do not understand and pass by. Even the ones who work for him, they felt not having that paycheck immediately, but they didn't feel what it felt on the other end to have to give them that paycheck consistently and constantly. But they missed it one time and they're all over him, right? And then, you're never going to pay us again because we don't work for you. And then they were very, very angry. But that's all the time that we've got for today. We've come to the end of another hour, so we're going to have to finish off this Lisa article later. But we did get through the entire saga of The Last Ring, which I think is probably not a story. If you've ever heard that story before, let me know in the chat or the comments. If you've never heard it, let me know that too. I like to know that I'm bringing you fresh content, even though it's from 1978. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I greatly appreciate it. We're going to go out of here with a song, and you all keep on taking care of business. This is the line between, because it symbolizes these tabloids.
I hear the static rising like a storm behind your breath. Every truth you're trying to name is shaking what we had left. You say the world's gone sideways, and I can feel the tilt begin. Two voices on a wire, and the ground won't stay still again. I'm not calling you a liar, I'm just trying to understand how the stories got so twisted between the heart and the helping hand. There's a line between us trembling, but I'm holding while I can. In a world that's spinning crazy, I'm still reaching for my friend. If the truth is breaking open, let it break us into light. Two hearts on different journeys, still trying to make it right. We built a house of loyalty, but the floorboards start to groan. Every secret that we carried now demands to be known. Say you're still my brother, but the silence cuts like steel. I'm standing in the doorway trying to tell you what I feel. I'm not trying to accuse you, I'm just naming what I see. All the shadows in the hallway where our trust used to be. There's a line between us trembling, but I'm holding while I can. In a world that's spinning crazy, I'm still reaching for my friend. If the truth is breaking open, let it break us into light. Two hearts on different still trying to make it right. I don't want to lose you, but I can't pretend I'm blind. There's a storm inside your story, and a storm inside of mine. If we meet again in mercy, let the past fall where it may. I'll be standing in the open if you choose to walk this way. There's a line between us trembling, but I'm holding while I can. In a world that's spinning crazy, I'm still reaching for my friend. If the truth is breaking open, let it break us into light. Two hearts on different journeys, still trying to make it right. Yeah, the line between us trembling, but I'm holding through the night.
Black pants in the sun, rode horses through silence, then golf carts for fun. A ranch just 10 miles from the mansion's bright gate, where the myth met the morning and time learned to wait. George fixed the brickwork, the pipes in the ground, lit BP on shirt where no spotlight was found. Donna kept diaries, snapshots ahead of a father who labored, of a myth made by men. He didn't ask for gold, didn't dream of a crown, just a place to be still when the world spun around. In the hands of the quiet, in the stitch of a sea, he carried the weight of a half-finished dream. The holster was worn, the leather was cracked, BP etched in thread, no glory attached. Mike shaped the saddle, the belt and the law, so Elvis could ride through a myth he adored. He didn't ask for gold, didn't dream of a crown, just a place singing still, make a race run out. In the hang out the party, the mistakes on the sea, we drained the weight of the hearts and his teeth. Snowstorms in March to fairgrounds at night. He chased peace in motion and shadow and light. And Priscilla saw him silhouette aglow, breathing in twilight, steady and slow. He didn't ask for gold,